Welcome back, everyone. We are going to be discussing spiral dynamics today because I do believe when we are looking to integrate a complete new system, we have to understand where we're currently at and where we're going, what the ultimate goals are. Spiral dynamics is rooted in the work of Clare W. Graves, and he had this very emergent cyclical theory about the adult psychological existence, frames of consciousness as evolving through adaptive, color-coded stages, or V-memes, which are value memes, lowercase v, in response to life's changing conditions, with each level of the spiral actually representing distinct modes of awareness, people's worldviews, and value systems, rather than fixed personality types. Graves is the one who coded these in mid-20th century, and then we have Don Beck and Chris Cohen who put the color system towards the spiral dynamics. Each stage within the spiral dynamic actually increases complexity and integration, where individuals, groups, and societies actually operate from a center of gravity and can access multiple levels. For example, you might be one way within one level within business. You might be on a different level of the spiral when you're with your family, for example. Because we are so complex and our societies are so complex, you can understand one group or person or society is not always just going to be in one individual color. However, the goal is to go up the spiral into turquoise, to coral, and beyond. There are two tiers within the spiral. The lower bottom tier is going to be more materialistic, leaning more individualistic. The second tier, the upper tier, higher consciousness, is going to be more unity consciousness. The first tier of consciousness, there are 6 levels. The higher tier of consciousness, there are 2 levels currently, which once we actually develop our consciousness towards those levels collectively, we'll actually get past those levels and we'll be developing whatever comes after turquoise and coral. We'll go through the first tier, lower consciousness first, which involves egocentric and group-centric thinking, where one's own stage is seen as the only valid truth, often leading to conflict as each views others as inferior or threatening, viewing others on the latter. Consciousness here is relatively dualistic and scarcity-oriented. Let's start with beige. Beige level, lowest level, baby consciousness essentially, instinctive and survival. Basic animal-like awareness that is focused on physiological needs and automatic reflexes with minimal self-other differentiation. Beige, purple, is the magical, animalistic, tribal tier. Magical, spirit-infused consciousness, emphasizing kingship, rituals, and harmony. Very tribal, with nature's forces for safety and belonging. We've got beige, purple, red. Red, impulsive, egocentric, power-driven. Raw, egocentric, power consciousness, driven by immediate impulses, dominance, and self-assertion without much reflection. Lower consciousness, scarcity-driven, materialistic-driven, industrial, fossil fuel-driven. Yep. Blue is going to be purposeful, authoritarian, and order. It's going to be rule-based, absolute consciousness centered on duty, tradition, morality, authority, and sacrifice for a higher purpose or group stability. Next, on our first tier of consciousness, we have orange, which is the scientific, strategic. They're very rational, success-oriented consciousness prioritizing individual achievement, innovation, merit, science, and material progress. Next on our spiral, green. All 6 of these, from beige to green, is our lower tier, scarcity and materialistic tier. Green is communitarian, sensitive, relativistic, empathetic, consciousness focused on feelings, inclusion, consensus, social justice, pluralism, and environmental harmony, often deconstructing hierarchies. Here's where we switch tones, because we're taking a leap from the first tier with these 6 from beige to green to the second tier, which is going to be yellow plus. And as of right now, we've got yellow turquoise and a little bit of coral, and then after that there'll be more, but we have to collectively get our consciousness up to be able to even start to define what those third tier or even extending on our second tier plus consciousness development looks like, right? We can only go so far collectively, and it's not to say to eradicate the bottom tiers. These are part of the process. You do not eradicate any of the tiers. They all build upon each other. These are the foundational pieces that are absolutely necessary to get us past yellow, turquoise, coral, into whatever other tiers of consciousness. So when I say lower, it just means foundation that's built upon to reach new heights, right? Because you don't just skip tiers. You learn in each tier, whether it be in this lifetime or your next lifetime or your previous lifetimes. The major leap goes to our second tier, which occurs at the transition between levels of green to yellow and onward. So, it's described as a profound shift in consciousness involving ego transcendence, non-dual awareness, and the ability to integrate and value all prior stages without attachment or rejection. This being modes the entire spiral as healthy and necessary in contexts operating from abundance, systemic flexibility, and holistic interconnectedness. Yellow is integrative systemic flex flow, integrative consciousness that synthesizes previous levels functionally, emphasizing competence, spontaneity, natural laws, open systems, and personal freedom without harm. Awareness expands to see complexity, paradoxes, and multiple truths simultaneously, living within the paradox. Yes, and, not either or. Not or and or. It's yes, and. Turquoise is next. So, yellow, turquoise. Holistic and global. Holistic consciousness, experiencing wholeness through mind and spirit with deep receptivity to multidimensional perspectives. Collective intelligence, planetary interconnectedness, and harmony across all existences. Cosmically as well. That's probably part of the coral, which coral will jump into. Coral and beyond is much higher levels. We need to get everyone through. We need to push up everyone through to these higher levels of consciousness. It's not one is better than the other as far as when you're looking at the individual collective, oh, I'm better than you because I'm higher on the consciousness tier. No. We're all as equal as our lowest consciousness. Why? Because we have to get up to the next rungs, we have to go together. There's no rising separately. We rise together. Higher levels are hypothesized but less observed, repeating themes at higher level orders. Overall, higher stages correlate with greater consciousness, broader perspective taking, reduced ego identification, inclusion of prior worldviews, and capacity to navigate existential complexity without ideological fixation. Only a small percent of people actually operate from even the second tier. Y'all, a lot of us are operating in our society with fossil fuels and nuclear engineering energy is all tier 1. That ain't even tier 2. So you can see how we're actually extremely primitive still, which is fine. We just need to recognize this and make the necessary changes immediately. Within the second tier, the higher levels, we enable transpartisan, which means yes and, Democrat and Republican, and moderate. Also, meta-aware functioning in an increasingly chaotic world. So, how do we reverse all this chaos where we're actually killing ourselves? We're killing our ecosystems, which is killing our organs, which eventually kills ourselves. Humans are a small population on planet Earth. The mass of the population on planet Earth is mammals. And yet we dominate the field and we think that we can do whatever we want because we're higher than thou. Well, guess what? If we get rid of our ecosystem, we get rid of ourselves too. So that's the path we're on within our fossil fuel society, within our living in lower tier 1 of consciousness on the spiral dynamics. If we want to actually survive and thrive, if you care about your children and your children's children, if you care at all about anything within consciousness, because consciousness doesn't just disappear, consciousness comes back. So you should care, because there's no such thing as zero except for in our monetary system, and it's 1. Everything starts at 1. There's no void, there's no black holes, this and that. 1 times 1 is 2. Look into Terrence Howard's work. This is how the universe actually works and functions. Okay. You come back, so you should care. You should care about getting our society reset up, taking care of business, because right now we're on the path of destroying ourselves and or coming back to a destroyed dystopia. You guys, let me tell you right now, we don't want to do this. We want to create heaven on earth. Heaven is not something you wait for, it's something you create. We can create heaven on earth should we so choose. We need to raise our consciousness collectively, and the best way to do that is actually to stop right now and meditate. And if you do not have a meditation daily practice, start with 1 minute a day, 2 minutes a day, 3 minutes a day. Put your increments up. As you can go on throughout time, put your increments up and up-level your consciousness now. That is the number one thing you can start doing today to actually flip the switch from dystopia to utopia for not only your future and your future lifetimes, but your children's futures and their future lifetimes. It's not fair for us to be killing off all of our biology and ecology and deforestation. It's not fair for us to be killing the world for our children to come back, or to be born right now, to be born into a world of destruction for them to actually solve and figure out. They should be coming into a world of abundance, where they can focus not on scarcity, on putting a roof over their heads, and what are they going to eat, and are they going to be able to eat? Not on scarcity. Or are they going to have clean water? Not on scarcity, where they can come back to abundance, and they can be in the aspect of, what can I create? How can I give? What can I create? That is the birthright of all of consciousness, is to create, not to destroy.